So we are testing LLMs. At the moment, I would say we are more on the experimenting phase. Large language models are improving very fast. Let's see what happens in the next 3-4 years.
So, Roberta, we have talked a little bit about LocLunch. Now, tell me about your work as a translator. What is nowadays, in days of AI, how do you differentiate yourself?
Actually, I'm in a good position because I started years ago to differentiate my activity. So I am a freelancer. I'm a freelance translator, and I'm also what I call a language consultant. So I have both direct clients for whom I work as a point of contact with their international clients, because one of the struggles for Italian companies, for example, they don't have a good level of English. So they might be great in what they do, but they can't communicate that with international clients. So that's where I step in for them as a consultant. But also with LSPs, I am not only a translator, transcreator, reviewer in the traditional, let's say, way, but I also work as a language lead for one specific account in the hotel industry at the moment. I've been doing this for the last 9 years. And I also work as lead linguist for a different LSP. Actually, this collaboration is now over, but we did that for 3 years. Basically, they are both managing roles. So it's not only translation related roles, but it means that you have to look at the broader picture. So you have to make sure that you handle the style guide, the brand voice correctly. You make the decisions that need to be made for your language. You are the reference person for your market. So in my case, for Italian. And I am, let's say, the last line language related for the company I work with. So I am the one, let's say, making all the final decisions and doing the sign off for documents to be released either online or printed materials, for example, in my case. I coordinate the translations that arrive from different vendors, and I have to make sure that they all have the same voice. Because I am the brand voice in that case.
Right.
So that's what I do. I also, in terms of lead linguist, I used to create also a newsletter because I was collecting all the feedback from the end client. So all the scorecards, all the evaluations we received from the end client. And I was creating a newsletter for our pool of translators. So on the other side, on the LSP side. And I was creating this monthly newsletter to recall everything that happened in the account during that month, all the decisions, all the changes, all the errors that we got logged, so that everyone could learn from other people's mistakes and avoid them as much as possible.
This is a wonderful tip. What would be the challenges for somebody who wants to go into this area, or what would you recommend them to do? How do you start to become a language lead? What are the skills needed to become a language lead?
My first recommendation would be not to be scared about the label, because it is a role, but actually it involves all the steps that we are used to do as translators. So thinking of my process, it is exactly the same thing I would do for a direct client, with all the steps in the process. The only thing is, we as a language lead might step into the process at some point. So we do not own the process from the beginning till the end, but we might step in at some point of the process. And also we ensure that the final output is what we expect it to be. So it takes a dose of courage, and you have to be a bit bold, but you always have to make sure that you can back your decisions. But this is something you would do in your normal process. So it's taking the responsibility and being accountable for the decisions that need to be made. You are not alone. Usually the team provides you with a supervisor who is in the client's team, with whom you might make the most sensitive decisions. Because at the end of the day, the end client, has to decide how they want to come out in the market. So you might give your best advice, being the expert, And that's how they are going to hear your voice. You are the expert in that field. But then the decision is on them. And what you do is you implement that decision and make sure that everything is, following their lead. We are testing. We have some pilot projects. So we are testing LLMs. At the moment, I would say we are more on the experimenting phase, but nothing we can really use in our process. So let's see what happens in the, next 3-4 years. Maybe because GPT or large language models are improving very fast. So the learning curve is it's very high. I'm actually very excited because it is true that things move very fast, but it's also true that you always need such managing roles in between. So you can't really trust the machine. You can use it to, produce things at a faster pace, but still you always have to find your guardian, let's say. So someone who is then responsible for checking. So that's why I think that the choice I made a few years ago is paying off, because actually I am doing the same thing that I foresee many of us are going to do in the future with ChatGPT and all similar language models.
Working as a consultant, as a guidance, as a shepherd for language for the corporate side or organizations as a whole. Right?
Yes.
What is the importance of terminology? How important is terminology nowadays?
Terminology is fundamental for consistency and to streamline any process. The only thing is you need to use it wisely, because it really depends on the languages. For example, Italian is a very rich language which doesn't tolerate repetitions. So I can't use the same word, let's say, 3 times in a sentence, because it's not considered acceptable. So you really need to own your own terminology and make sure that you are treating just the important terms as terminology. It's not the vocabulary, it's what we say. So when I create a glossary, for example, I am in charge for the glossary of one of my clients. We always make sure that we are inserting only fundamental parts there and things we cannot change or use synonyms for. So especially if they are linked to legal connotations, we need to keep them and make sure that they are always consistent, because that's the key. But especially when you are trying to implement large language models in your process, you have to make sure that terminology is always up to date and that you are catering for that constantly. So you can't say, okay, I'll just keep that term because maybe I can remember. No, it doesn't work that way, because the machine is not going to remember. So it really depends on how your process is structured, in my view.
When you have one major tip for a foreign company coming to Italy and localizing to Italy, what would it be?
Don't give it for granted that translation is enough. We have some cultural differences. It depends on which country is the source copy from, but we might really need some localization to make it sound Italian or fit for Italians. Because otherwise, there is always this feeling that there is distance, because it's not for you. It's not crafted for you, because it doesn't sound natural. So the risk is we just drop it. So make sure that whatever is your choice for the process you are implementing for your accessing to the new market, the Italian market, make sure that you are really taking into account the cultural differences.
Talking about culture, hand signs. Show me at least 1 or 2 hand signs and explain me what does that mean. Like,
okay,
what is it? What does it mean?
Very classic one. What do you want?
Okay, what
Che
do you want?
vuoi?
How do you say it in Italian?
Che vuoi?
Che vuoi? Okay.
Well, you speak Spanish, so you can grasp that. Another one, maybe still in the polite side. Have you gone out of your mind? Are you crazy? Sei matto?
Okay. What are you, crazy? So,
or just, go away. This way. Yes. Just, go away. Let's empty this area.
What is the one you use most?
I think that one. I think most Italians at some point to just go for that.
What is your favorite food?
My favorite food, I think all the pasta dishes.
Okay, pasta. That was
Yes,
easy. What pasta? Let's be specific.
we have million types of pasta. So if we go for pasta, I would say lasagna maybe,
Uh-huh.
or risotto, which is not pasta, but it's on the same category for us. Because I don't know if you know it, Italians traditionally have the main course, which is pasta, and then the main course for the rest of the world, which is either meat, fish, or cheese, or whatever. So we have two main courses, usually.
Because it's pasta, one main course, and then another is fish or meat.
Pasta is a staple, you know. You can't skip pasta. And then you have whatever you want.
What about pizza? You like pizza?
Yes, absolutely, yes. But
The
pizza,
big one or the big one?
I love them both. In Rome, the traditional one is the very thin one. The thick one is more Naples, but of course now it's, international. We have it also here. But if you have pizza, you don't have pasta or other main courses. But in Rome, you start with fried things. So you might have supplì, you might have filetto di baccalà. It's called fried. Well, not everything that is fried in Rome is a good start for pizza.
Antipasti?
Yes, antipasti.
Is there something that doesn't work together? I mean, what you said before, if there's pizza, there's no pasta. Is there something more? The desserts, for example?
Desserts, they go well for everything. I mean, they're always a good idea.
What is your preferred one?
My preferred one maybe is tiramisu. I know it's a very classic one, but actually the very typical one in Rome, I don't know if you know it, it's maritozzo. Okay, maritozzo, same word, close word as marito, husband. Okay, but that's a weird story because you have this sort of, I wouldn't say croissant, it's a pastry that it's cut in half and opened like this. It's like a sandwich, but sweet. Okay, and in between you have all this big mountain of whipped cream. Okay, it's like this size usually.
Wow.
And the name maritozzo is because of an old tradition that the boyfriend who wanted to ask to get married to his girlfriend used to hide a ring in the whipped cream. So if they offer maritozzo, you have to make sure that you are not ingesting the ring eventually.
Because it
Okay, that is a tradition.
Your husband.
That might be the proposal, you know. That used to be back in the days, that's why the name maritozzo, marito, because it's the husband to be.
One place in Rome you can't miss. That is not a typical tourist attraction.
Okay, so to visit, you mean to visit?
To be in Rome, and a place where you definitely would bring your friends, your LocLunch friends from around the world.
My favorite, and actually we had one LocLunch there, but it's very, very central, so it's kind of difficult to reach if you are in a hurry for the daily work. It's Chiostro del Bramante, which is actually, Chiostro is cloister. So there is a small church, very small church from Donato Bramante, very well-known architect. And close to this church, well, actually it's the same structure, there is a cloister, and there is now a museum. And on the first floor, there is a cafeteria. So you can actually eat or have a drink, have a cup of tea in the space of the cloister. It's from 19th century. In the space, in the historical cloister. And actually, the room of the cafeteria has a window that overlooks the church. So from the window, you can look inside the church. And it's a very unique place, and it's very calm. It's in the buzzing center of the city, in the touristic area. But that part, it's like, sort of safe space, and it's heaven.
You have heard it. These are the hidden gems from Roberta about Rome. So again, thanks a lot for sharing all this. It was wonderful discussion. Really learned a lot about Rome, about localization with you. And yeah, all the best. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks.